my name is Lilo, and you're tuning in on Headbangers Lifestyle. Welcome, Robyn. Introduce yourself, please, to our readers and so on.
Hey, I'm Robyn Ferguson, all the way from South Africa, and it's great to be here with you. Thank you.
Yes. So it's all excitement. You got new EP out. A lot of things are happening right now. The first thing that I saw on your Facebook page was this phrase like, I was born to do this. Yes. Explain yourself, please.
Since the moment I saw a guitar and picked one up and held it in my hands, I knew that this was what I was meant to do with my life. And I knew that I had to be on the stages of the world playing music and just doing that and as much of it as possible. So for me, I really feel I was born to do this. Work hard, play hard. That's another thing I always say. So it's something I truly believe in. And without music, I wouldn't be alive.
So that was the feeling that you got right away. There was no doubt about it, so to speak.
Absolutely no doubt whatsoever.
How old are you actually right now? How old are you?
I'm 29 currently.
Yeah, and what was the age that you got this sensational feeling like, I'm born to do this? I just picked up a guitar and wow.
I was walking with my father and we saw somebody busking, playing guitar on the corner, and I was about 12 years old when I saw it. And the first time I saw that, I said to him, what is that? I need it in my life. And a few weeks later, I had a guitar. So I think from the age of 12 really is when I became exposed to it and obsessed with it.
Mm-hmm. Who were the guitar heroes for you at that moment? Who did you listen to?
A huge variety of people. Many ask me who have been my influences, and it's changed over the years and continues to change depending on my mood and where I'm at.
Of course, yeah.
I would always say the greatest. I mean, you've got Steve Vai and Satriani, Malmsteen. Those kind of players have always been huge inspiration for my personal playing. And then with the modern players as well, or more modern if you wish, guys from Tesseract and Carnival, those kind of people, Periphery, all of that. It's been a huge influence.
Mm-hmm. Do you consider yourself a natural talent, or was it like, oh, you really had to practice every day and on and on and on? How did that work out for you?
I've had to practice a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think it came naturally at first. And then once I clicked it, it's sort of like something shifted in my mind. And since that moment, it's been a lot easier to play. And something just sort of like comes through me, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But it does take a lot of time, a lot of practice. Music has always been a challenge, like a good challenge, but it's always something you have to work at least for me. I'm not that fortunate.
So, but it could be something like a puzzle, for instance, to connect things. Does it work like that for you?
Yeah, I think throughout my day-to-day, I'm inspired by different things, and it's connecting those dots and helping them, putting them together to tell a story, and to tell the journey of whatever. For me, it might be a spiritual journey or a mental journey, but if you always have to be saying something. So being inspired throughout the day from various things, other musicians, nature, anything really. I think it's connecting all of those dots, putting it together, and hopefully coming up with something that people like.
True. But of course, for a lyricist, a vocalist, it's easier because you use words. And as a guitarist, how do you feel you want to, translate your inner feelings to the listener? How do you handle that when you compose a song?
Music is such a universal language. It speaks without words, and I think I mean, I'm a vocalist as well, and a lot of people know me for that. But I've always been a guitarist first, and a guitar is one of the few instruments that can mimic the human voice. So you can play a melody as if somebody is singing it. You can slide a note. You can drag it. You can. So it's. I think I was never blessed with the ability to sing clean vocals, like operatic or anything like that. I can barely hold a note, which is why I do death metal vocals.
Oh, the real grunting stuff?
Are easier. But I think I've always been jealous of amazing vocalists. I listened to a lot of vocal music as a child growing up, a lot of opera from my mum and such. Not that she was a musician, but she enjoyed it. So I think I've always tried to mimic a lot of those melodies in my playing. You have to be telling a story. So I think sometimes we put so much behind the lyrics and telling people what they need to be feeling and how they need to be experiencing the song. And going instrumental allows the listener to interpret it the way they need it to be interpreted, the way it needs to hit their soul, the way it needs to hit their mind. So I quite enjoy it. It's different.
And do songs come natural to you, or is it really you sit down and then really try to compose? I mean,
a bit of both, eh? It depends. At any given time, I have about 10 songs which I'm working on. Half of them never see the light of day.
Okay.
You have to throw them away. But it takes quite a while to write everything, especially being completely solo, having to write all the parts, the drums, the guitars, the bass, everything. It takes some time. And also, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so it's not just the matter of pushing record and playing it and there you go. Yeah. I re-record and re-record until I can play it properly. And a lot of people, I think, play a part, stop, and then play another part. I try to do it all in one go, from start to finish, and not stop, which is just, I make my life hell for myself.
Yeah. That makes a challenge for you, I guess, to do that. Yeah. But it's good. I mean, when you look back on your early days and see where you are right now as a guitar player, as a composer, what do you feel the biggest accomplishment you made so far?
Not giving up. That sounds like a very silly thing, but not giving up. I think the industry is a very difficult industry. It's even more challenging being in a sub-genre, especially in South Africa. Metal is not a mainstream genre. There's very few places to perform, very few people to perform to and with. So it's all a challenge. But at the end of the day, I think for me, it's just, I'm so grateful to just be here, and to have not given up. Often being a female musician, you get treated differently. I've been asked if I'm the groupie for the band and all kinds of things. So, and it's just it's different. But and there's been many times where I've wanted to give up and just stop through health things and all of it, and just not giving up, I think, is something that I'm very proud of.
And what made you not giving up then in those dark times?
Not playing is not an option. So I felt quite ill last year, and music was the only thing that was a release, was a way for me to express myself, was a way for me to communicate all the things that I didn't have words for or wasn't able to put pen to paper. So it was a true lifesaver because it showed me a different path. It was a release. It was healing, everything that I needed. So continuing to perform even with physical struggles, I think it was a big mental challenge, but it was something I had to do and something I had to overcome. And I think a lot of people will give up, and perhaps that's also okay. It's not always for them, but for me personally, I believe it in my guts, like on the inside of my being, that this is what I'm supposed to do. So come hell or high water, you'll have to rip my guitar from my dead hands before I stop.
Before you give up, of course. Yeah. So, what do you consider the typical Robyn signature, where people recognize you for as a guitar player, and maybe also as a composer, songwriter?
I think my music is quite a combination of shred and melody. It's an equilibrium. I like to call it alchemy.
Oh, yeah.
It's alchemy. It's not too hectic shredding all the way where it's just, Steve Vai falling down the stairs maybe, I don't know. But it's also not just one or two notes hanging. It's a mush of things, and it's a breaking apart of sounds and putting it back together. So I think it's quite a unique balance. So yeah, in one word, alchemy, really.
Yeah. Do you think there is it a difference because you are female that you have a different way of playing than a guy in general? Should that matter, do you think, or not?
I don't think it should matter at all. When I started off playing music, I realized very quickly on, because I was in a band with a bunch of other girls, and I realized very quickly, I think people are coming to our show because we're girls and not so much because we're playing good music. And that bugged me so much. To the point where I would dress completely opposite and you wouldn't know. Just to break those stereotypes. Like, I want to be known as a good guitarist because I'm a good guitarist, not because I'm pink or purple or gay or straight or male or female or anything in between. Maybe I could be a unicorn. I don't know. But I think it should never be an issue. Me personally, I've never fit in a box, because I don't believe there is a box. So perhaps that's what makes my playing different, is that I'm not trying to be anybody else. I learn from others, and I want to learn from others. I want to steal little pieces.
Right.
I'm a hoarder, so I'll pick up little pieces from you and put it in my box of treasures and release it when I want to make some different music, put it all together like a puzzle, as you say.
Yeah. Are there certain techniques or tricks that are super challenging for you that you haven't, figured out how to make it your own, or, something you really have to keep studying on, so to speak?
Yeah. Music theory is something that I struggle with tremendously. I actually have very little theory knowledge. I have some people who come up to the show and they're like, "Oh, that major diminished flat 9."
Oh.
I'm like, what?
What?
That chord. Okay, cool. And I have people asking these questions, and that's a big challenge for me because it sounds good. I don't necessarily always understand why it sounds that way because of the theory. I think that's something I have to work on a lot. But in general, playing-wise, there's always new techniques to learn. There's always things. Right now, I'm trying to get into more percussive right-hand playing, which is perhaps quite a gent technique at the moment, but also more finger-style acoustic guitar technique. And I'd like to combine that with a bit of slap bass practice and put it onto my guitar somehow. I don't know. But we'll get there.
Yeah. Do you play by the ear then, so to speak?
I can read a little bit of music, and I understand the basics.
Yeah.
But I think the majority of it is a feeling more than an ear. I'm partially deaf, so to play by ear is a challenge as well.
Oh, okay.
I can, so it's a feeling. So be it this is the right scale or right notes, I can't always tell you. I know the basics and the basic modes and the patterns and the stuff, because you need to know the shapes and such. But if I play a chord and it sounds good, I'm not going to go and overanalyze and try and figure out what it is.
Yeah.
I'd rather play over it and see where it goes than try and get caught up in the theory.
Yeah.
Let's be fun.
Yeah.
I'll try and make it serious.
Yeah. There's Ibanez all over your place, and you play on Ibanez and everything. So, what is for you the reason you play on this brand?
Well, firstly, I'm very fortunate to be an endorsee, Ibanez South Africa endorsee. But I've always loved Ibanez. My first electric was an Ibanez, and I kind of eat, breathe, sleep Ibanez these days, as you can see.
Yes.
It's just such a fantastic brand. I think I experimented a lot and for many years with other brands and trying different things, and I gravitated always back to Ibanez. And they've been such a wonderful team locally and so supportive. And tone-wise, feel, everything I'm looking for, they match. So I'm Ibanez crazy.
Yeah. And also, how do you work with the technique? I guess you record your own songs, so that's a whole other level, I guess. I mean, playing is one thing, but then all the recording stuff behind that as well. How did you learn that, and how is your interest in that part of being a musician?
I think it came from me playing on stage and then getting annoyed with sound engineers, perhaps.
Yes.
In the dodgy clubs at 3 a.m. in the morning when you're the last band and there's one drunk guy in the crowd. I'm sure everyone's had those shows. And I think I just got so annoyed with people telling me what to do and how to do it, and it just frustrated me. So I went and I studied a bit of sound engineering just so that I could understand the basics. And then I've worked in the industry as a guitar tech, as a sound engineer. So I have that background, fortunately, which has helped me for recording. So currently I record everything in this room with that box.
Wow.
Which is a simple live box. So I run everything quite simply nowadays. But it's fun. It's fun.
And it's good to be independent, to do it at home, I guess.
Yeah. It helps. It makes the process quite a bit faster. But I do have a wonderful mixing and mastering and producer called Clinton Watts. And he's a fantastic local guy who has mixed and mastered basically everything that I've done.
Nice.
So he's fantastic as well.
Kudos for him, right?
Absolutely.
So in 2 years, you released 2 EPs. One is called, if I'm saying it correct, Alizarin.
Yeah.
Right? That was 2019, and then recently Falling Forward, the second one. So in general, what were the challenges when you write and record those 2 EPs? The biggest challenges you had?
First album, the biggest challenge there was just fear of myself and fear of failure. It's a very scary thing, especially if you've been playing in bands for very many years. And being a session guitarist is also very different to being a solo musician. So it was very scary. Getting over that was quite a thing. Not going to lie.
Understandable.
I did it, and it was so exhilarating that I immediately thought, okay, I need to start writing another one. And about 2 weeks later, I started writing. The biggest challenge with Falling Forward is that last year I fell quite dramatically ill and was diagnosed with quite a serious disease. And that whole process of recovery throughout the recording and the writing process was probably the biggest challenge. But it was also the biggest form of inspiration. So every coin has 2 sides. And although it was a very tragic time, it led to wonderful music, I feel. So I don't regret any of it. So I'm very grateful for everything that's happened.
Mm-hmm. And did your first EP was kind of a blueprint for you to move on with your next EP, next songs? Or did you start from scratch again? How does it work?
Everything I do kind of interlinks. I'm one for extra meanings in everything. Mm-hmm. And so they do flow from one to the other, but I'd like to think of them as 2 separate standing works. Perhaps a series as such. So you have your general theme, and this is volume 1, volume 2,
right.
Different chapters in between. So we'll see where it goes. I've got a lot of plans for a 3rd, a 4th, and a 5th release. Mm-hmm. And I think expect the unexpected, I suppose. Yeah. It's going to be great. But
Are they gonna be EPs as well, then, or more long recordings?
Doing a longer recording takes a lot more time, and because we're in quite a digital and high demand time, it's hard to do full lengths because it's very time consuming. I still have great love for a full length because it's a great body of work, and I'm a sucker for the whole story of it, the album art, and the song interlinks with that song, and it's a hidden meaning for 3 albums ago.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm a sucker for that. So they will definitely be for like longer projects, but I don't want to limit it or define it necessarily and put it in a box. Currently, I'm working on a very short something, as well as a 4th release, which will be a longer thing. So it's
okay.
Yes to all of the above.
Yeah. And where do you want to take the listener to in general with your music?
To reflect on themselves, I think. It's to shine the light where we all have these inner saboteurs, and we all have these inner demons and inner issues, which we try to hide, and we shove under the carpet for later. And if somebody or something hurts us, we just go, okay, I'm fine. And we're in this society of I'm fine because it's not okay to not be okay. And not being okay doesn't mean that you're in pieces. It means that you're in a healing process. So I hope that my music will bring comfort to people, as well as shine a bit of a light and perhaps be a way to express their own journeys. Because all of my songs take you through highs and lows, and I think it's a whole inner healing and spiritual healing, which I hope to pass on to others.
Yeah. Did you already map out your whole career in your mind, or do you take it day by day?
It's an interesting question. Life always throws curveballs, so to plan everything down to the nitty-gritty is really hard, but I do definitely set goals. I set daily goals, I set weekly and monthly and yearly goals. A lot of them have been achieved, and a lot of them have maybe gone beyond my expectation, and many have failed. So it's just to keep going at it. But yeah, where I see myself in the next 5 to 10 years or even a year, it's a scary thing because my dreams are so huge. I always say if your dreams don't terrify you, they're not big enough. Mine terrify me, and I still don't think they're big enough. So I'm in that phase of bring it on, we'll see.
Yeah. Can you already make a living out of being a musician?
Yes and no. It's a challenge now with COVID. Obviously not being able to perform. I do still have a day job as well. I'm a graphic designer by day, work for a very awesome company. And that's what I do as a day job. And when I put my pen down, then I pick up the guitar and carry on. That's what many people do. Ultimately, it's the dream to play guitar and travel the world and make a living off it. I've been fortunate enough to have a taste of that in the past, but I think it's always good to have a balanced life, I quite enjoy having a bit of a day job as well. It's variety.
Yeah, but how many hours per day can you practice on your guitar these days, having a day job as well?
I'm fortunate that I work flexible hours, and that I've actually changed my working day to very strange hours, which allow me a greater time of the day. So I generally work office hours from 5 a.m. to about 2 p.m., and which leaves the entire rest of the day and the morning and such. Because I don't really ever sleep, there's lots of time for guitar. So I try to get between 4 to 6 hours in the week, every day, which is really hard. But you find time. I've always said, what are you willing to sacrifice to make your dreams and your purpose come true? And that perhaps sounds very arrogant or very rude or hard or cold. I'm sorry. But it's something that I've put my entire life behind and will continue to do that. There's only a handful of things that could make me drop my music.
Yeah.
So make a way.
Mm-hmm. What do you feel the biggest sacrifices are that you had to make to be a musician, like the standard you're living now?
Yeah, I mean, huge sacrifices. I have an incredibly small friend circle. Mm-hmm. I don't have huge amount of people as much as everyone thinks like, oh, you're quite well known, everyone knows you. Yeah, but you have very few friends, perhaps, you know. A lot of people want to be your friend for other reasons, but true friends. So I have a very small friend circle. I've also sacrificed a huge amount of time, blood, sweat, and tears, finances as well. It's expensive to be a musician when you're starting off, and even now it costs me to do this.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's been other serious things as well. I've lost a lot of friends. I've perhaps missed out on other opportunities. But by doing this, I feel I've had more refined opportunities, and I know that the juice is worth the squeeze. I know that I'm working towards something. So I think we're always challenged, and there's always going to be things that are coming across our way to distract us. Mm-hmm. But we all have a plan and a purpose. Well, there is a plan and a purpose for all of us, however or whatever you believe that to be. But we're here for some kind of a reason, and I feel mine is to play music. So I'm going to do everything I can to make that happen.
Yeah. What do you feel like the biggest reward is for you, having put all this time and energy and sacrifices into it? What do you like the most?
The reward is mostly when I'm on stage, is to look out on the crowd and to spot that one person in the crowd who's just having the time of their lives. And you can often see, for me being on stage, everything sort of goes a bit slow motion, sort of like third person slow motion. And in that time, it's a very like floaty sensation. It makes you almost feel like you're high, I suppose.
Oh. Yeah.
Perhaps you're high on the moment, you know. Mm-hmm. And, to see a person in the crowd who is being touched by the music, who understands it on a different level, and you connect with them from meters away, and you go, yeah, I see you. That to me is the most rewarding, is to have just one person really feel my music. It means so much to me when that happens. And that, it doesn't always happen often. I mean, sometimes you can play on a whole tour and you don't always see that. People are enjoying it, but that special moment happens a handful of times in your life, and it's something I crave and really love.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, is there anyone you really would love to do this incredible guitar duel with? Is there anyone on your bucket list?
Guitar duel. There are so many people, because I want to learn from them, but not just guitarists. I think from a guitar point of view, I mean, it's always going to be cool to touch base with other female guitarists like Nita Strauss, but I'd also love to be in a room with Satriani or Bai,
right.
You know. And then in terms of just musical greatness, Devin Townsend is someone who's very high up on my list, because he's got such an awesome creative mind. So pretty much everyone. I want to meet everyone. It's crazy, but so many people have so many skills and so many cool things to learn from, that I just want to meet everyone, play on the stages of the world, meet everyone.
But in a way, are you working on that maybe somehow, to networking, connecting, see if you can get there?
There's a lot of collaboration behind the scenes that I'm working on. Some of it has been affected by COVID, but there's one or two things which, we're just holding thumbs, keeping things a little under wraps. But perhaps, I mean, you never know. The biggest thing is you never know unless you ask. Yeah. True.
That's true.
We'll see.
Is there anyone who already said yes, and you can tell me?
Nothing yet. I can't say, unfortunately. Sorry.
It's okay.
Soon. I hope soon.
You have to keep an eye on it. So, have you already figured out how you're gonna promote your music from now on with the world situation?
Yeah, it's been an interesting thought on my mind. And I've had to look at things quite differently. I've got great help from David Devo Oosthuizen from Devo Graphic. He's helping me a lot with PR and just making sure that I know what's going on where in life. Because doing everything on your own and having a day job sometimes gets a bit much. So pulling him into the team and expanding the team for touring, getting a couple crew people involved, just to make things a little easier. So, yeah, it's a lot of online, I suppose, eh?
Yeah. Are you surprised that there's quite some interest in your work?
Yes and no. I think it's always surprising when somebody likes my stuff. I'm so weird that, you know, and I feel like my music is so bizarre that if somebody enjoys it, it's quite a shock to me sometimes. Because I'm like, you like this? Cool. So, yeah, it's always very humbling. I think internationally it's been very, very well received. Locally, incredibly well as well. I'm actually just in shock, to be honest.
Yeah. But why didn't you see it coming? Because there are not so many female guitarists playing this style of music and being an instrumentalist, solo artist.
Look, it's definitely a goal of mine. I mean, I want to be legendary. I mean, it sounds very selfish or very arrogant. That's what I want, and I've been working towards it. Perhaps I'm surprised because it's happening sooner than I expected, later than I expected, at the time that I expected. I don't really know. It's all just awesome, and I'm running as fast as I can on this race, and I'm running and trying to learn as much as I can and have as much fun. So I think in my being, as I've said many times now, I've known that this is something that I need to do, and I've always known that it will be huge, and that's what I've always wanted. The realistic side of your brain then says, oh, but you're in Africa and you're this and you're that, and I think I've just kind of thrown that out the window, especially this last year in 2020, and it's just decided, you know what, it doesn't matter where I'm from, I believe in this, so I'm going to do it. Change of mindset has happened just at the right time, I think, where I've truly unlocked it. I've always believed it, but perhaps more superficially than what I believe it now. Now I know it as fact.
Right, yeah. And now you can act on it. I mean, make bigger steps, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But how are you going to handle now that we're not going to be able to, to go out in a venue and play in a packed club and everything? How do you feel about that future for yourself?
It's very sad because I get a great kick from being on stage.
Yeah.
It's so great. So it is a big challenge. But it's opened an interesting creative side for me where I'm having to think of new ways to get people involved. So this week, actually, I'm releasing a playthrough video, and we're doing a couple premiere leading up to it. We're doing a couple promotion stuff leading up to it. I think a lot more things are going to be live streaming. For me, that's quite strange to perform with nobody around and still have that energy. But I think it's probably the way of the future for at least now. My advantage is that I can perform with or without a band. So I don't need to arrange to have everybody on the same Skype and try sync up everything and make it work. Right. I play guitar, I don't know computers. So, but it's going to definitely be very, very different. I hope that we can eventually go back to touring and all of that. But I do think it'll take some time. Maybe a year or two even. I don't know. I hope not.
Yeah, it's a big question mark for sure. Yeah. But you have worked with a band, with several bands, right? I think you have an Alice Cooper tribute band even, right? Can you say anything about that one? Because that's interesting.
Yeah, so I did a lot of session work, and I've played in a number of tribute bands. It was an Alice Cooper. I had a AC/DC versus Deep Purple. There was a Led Zeppelin. So a bunch of those type of things. And then also I perform in two main bands, called one being Adorned In Ash, where I'm the front person, so vocalist and guitarist, and then in Sistas of Metal, where I just do vocals. It's quite a fun band to perform with. And we've discussed the live show thing, and I must admit it's still a question mark for all of us. How are we going to do it? There's no roadmap. We have to create our own. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just a matter of having the guts to try something new. I'm all about pushing the boundaries. So for me right now, as soon as I'm able to have 5 minutes to breathe, I suppose, in the next month or so, I'm trying to devise a plan to incorporate more musicians and to incorporate the scene as such, be it a local or an international, and do some sort of a safe show. How we're going to do that, I'm still pondering, but I've been known for crazy ideas and for pulling them off. So hopefully my reputation can be maintained and we can do something cool.
Yeah. Okay, just have to wait and see. So, do you have good tips for young kids who want to start playing an instrument, let's say guitar, but it could also be a bass or a drum or whatever? Do you have some tips here?
Yeah. If you love it, continue with it. Never forget why you do it. So why did you pick up the instrument in the first place? Remember why. Keep practicing. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
In all ways, in shapes and forms. It's gonna hurt. But it's so worth it. And it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding. So never give up.
And find your own style. How to do that?
Yeah. Finding your own style, I say just believe in yourself. So I know that's a very cheesy thing to say, but learn what you can from people, but don't be a carbon copy. Figure out how to do it. So learn from somebody. How do you play this? Teach me. And then take those techniques, those tips, those melodies, and try to do it in your own words, in your own way. Mm-hmm. And see what comes of it. Record it back, listen to it, see where it goes, take it apart, put it back together like some Lego. When you buy Lego blocks from the store, mm-hmm. you buy it, it's maybe a truck or a princess hotel or something. Mm-hmm. You build, when you open it, you build the picture. Mm-hmm. Then you know what pieces you have. So if you can take those pieces, you then don't have to build what was on the box. You can build anything you want. Mm-hmm. To apply that same mentality with your music. Learn what you can, build the picture, then break it apart and build your own.
And how do you feel about the very new young generation, like 12, 13-year-olds, especially maybe locally in your town? Do you see that metal will continue with the new young generation?
It has to. Metal will never die. Yeah. It might change and it might morph. It has to. It has to evolve. Mm-hmm. But it will always be there as long as there are angry kids wanting to express themselves in a unique way. Mm-hmm. As long as there are weirdos, we will rule the world. Mm-hmm.
Would you see it also as an adventure? We have all this cool, heroes, all this artwork, all this, sensational, looks and sounds. So it's more than just music. It's like a complete package, actually, I think, for kids as well, to keep on going with it.
I agree. I've got a young niece and nephew who are roughly that age, and they exposed to so many different things. It's actually quite wonderful. And what I'm noticing in them is they're finding their own identity within it. So they're a lot more open to experiencing new things and discovering new music, and a lot more accepting of things. So I think it's going to be quite an exciting time when they start picking up instruments or getting into music and getting into different art forms. I believe, especially now with Corona, I think in the next year or two we're going to see a whole boom of creativity, because we have all these people locked away in their houses, probably going crazy, but there's a creative force at hand. I mean, I've said it before, Isaac Newton discovered calculus during quarantine, but we can all sit on Netflix and chill, I suppose. He must have been very bored to create calculus, but at the same time, you can do something great, and it was something quite bizarre and different. If I was his friend, I would have told him he's crazy. So now it's just to not listen to your friends who tell you you're crazy, and just run with it, do it. So I think we're going to have a huge creative boom in the next year or two as people start surfacing their art.
And do you feel like right now to pick up the guitar that I see there in the corner and show these kids, I see there's something white there with a white top, and show maybe the little kids like a cool lick that they can rehearse with?
Yeah, sure. I'll have to switch all of this on quick. Do you have a moment?
Of course.
Let's see. So this is one of my guitars.
Nice.
I just have to have it out.
Wow.
It's in a very strange tuning at the moment, though, so we shall see.
Okay. And what is the strange tuning then?
This is in. It's not in a conventional tuning.
Okay.
But it's a version of like a C sharp, I suppose. But yeah, I've been messing around with some stuff, so it might sound a bit strange.
Yes.
Oh, I have to swap some plugs here.
Ah. There it is.
Yeah.
Something nice and motivating for everyone who likes to get started, because it doesn't have always to be about speeding and really technical, but just like, I mean, a simple melody can, really be
Beneficial.
filling the room, So that's, when it's really to the...
Okay, we're in a better tuning now. So I generally play in E flat standard, so it's all my strings half a step down. And I start with a very light gauge, which a lot of people think is strange. So these are 9-gauge strings, 9 to 42 in E flat standard. So it doesn't take much to play. But sometimes it's just about some melody. So maybe we can play one of the lines from one of my songs.
That would be nice.
We'll play something from The Ocean Born, which will be... So if we go very slowly, we're just going to take it on. It starts on the G string on the 12th fret. That's like a really nice little line.
Really, really nice. Yes.
Up to speed it would be. If I'm warmed up, then don't miss all my notes there.
Of course. Well, I think that gives people something to work on. I think sounds really good. So, is there anything you really like to add to to this?
Oh, yeah, no, just thank you to everyone who's always supported. And if you are interested in playing music, you should never, ever give up, because it is wonderful and cool, and we need more musicians. So do it.